All right,
Okay.
we are live. You are okay?
Okay.
Let's go.
What's that annoying intro?
The worst intro that we've ever done, but they can only get better then, I guess. Welcome to the Counter-Strike Casuals podcast, episode 21. We are here Monday evening after a very exciting Pro League weekend, which saw MOUZ crowned Pro League champions. And do you know what? Do you know what you win when you win Pro League?
What was it?
It's
200?
you win 200 grand,
Yeah.
a spot at the Blast World Final, and a spot in IM Katowice. So qualification for 2 events and 200 grand. It's bizarre. It's like, yeah. Also, Pro League is a slog, right? It just goes on like all year, or like takes not all year, but takes ages to get to this point, and then you don't even get the biggest cash prize, but you do get qualifications to 2 other events, which will probably have, you know, what's Blast probably like $500,000 or something, and so's Kata. So, bit of a weird one, but very, very good fun. So Pro League is over.
Obviously, MOUZ are now your new team.
Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold. I've got man flu. I've got Diz flu over here. Okay, this is serious. They are they're better.
You're loving it. You've been loving it.
Yeah, I've loved MOUZ because MOUZ are fucking fun, right? Because Shui is just a G, Jim Fat is just a fucking animal, Torzy's just a legend. You know, what's not to love, mate? Also, Jim Fat is just a fucking, just a boy, mate. The geezer's 17. He turned 17 during Pro League, and he's mental. But so they won. Let's just really quickly talk about this competition, okay? It was MOUZ Navi in the final. I actually managed to watch quite a bit of the matches, and I watched in detail, I would say, where I was actually able to concentrate and watch some full rounds play out for once. The MOUZ G2 game, which ended up 2-1 MOUZ, in particular the Inferno decider, which was just quality. And honestly, MOUZ played some of the best team Counter-Strike I've ever seen in terms of utility, and just their communication must be on point. I'd love to see if they release a mic'd up video. I know that FaZe and people like that do it. If they do, I really want to listen to it, because they were just double nading on point. They were smoke peeking on point. It was just so good to watch, and it makes me realise or think, why do we not try and just talk a bit more, or just at least work together as a 2 or a 3 when we just play these stupid pub games, because we'd just be so much better. G2 just looked like they didn't have a clue what to do and just had no answers to anything. Even the map they won was super close, Ancient. I felt like m0NESY was the only real player that was actually answering to anything MOUZ were doing, but MOUZ were just quality. So I watched that game. Then I watched the final. Pretty much every map or every round, or I focused in on a lot of it. And honestly, hang on, I made some notes, right? Oh yeah, so Navi didn't drop a map until they went against MOUZ. MOUZ 3-0'd them.
Gotta give Navi some credit, they've done well.
They have done well, but they got to the quarterfinals. Their route to the final was nowhere near as difficult as MOUZ's because of their wins earlier on in the group stages, which is fair enough. If you win those group stages matches, you deserve to be, you know, further up in the competition. But their route to the final, what group were Navi in the sheet? So Group C. So Navi beat Cyclone, expected, Apex expected, and they beat FaZe super comfortably. I watched that game as well, and FaZe we won't go into that. There's no point.
No,
about
I'm kind of fed up of talking about FaZe.
Oh well, there you go.
I feel let's phase them out.
Hey. Okay, cool. Right, that's dad joke number 1. So they beat Cyclone, they beat Apex, they beat FaZe. FaZe being the only real test, but FaZe playing shit. So is it? Don't think so. Then they beat Eternal Fire. Then they beat Monty. That's a pretty easy run to a final, really, other than the FaZe game. MOUZ. Listen to this run. This is who MOUZ had to beat to get.
This was ridiculous.
They lost to MIBR, so they went down to the lower bracket. They then beat Evil Geniuses. They then beat Heroic. They then beat MIBR again to the second time round, so they beat them after losing. Then they got to the single elimination bracket. They beat Furia. They beat FaZe. They beat G2. They beat Ents, and then they beat MOUZ 3-0. Navi 3-0. That is one hell of a run. I don't know when someone had such a hard run in a competition of the ones that we've been watching since we've been doing the podcast.
Yeah. No, I think that fair play to them. You can't say anything. They were kind of a little bit of like a dark horse, I feel, since the new lineup. They've been doing pretty well. But yeah, I think people overlook them massively, and fair play to them. I'm happy to see them there. I was going to say it's the last CSGO big tournament, but there's another one, right? Blast are doing.
Well, it's not a big tournament. That's the Blast qualifications to the Falls.
So it was then, basically.
It was the last big LAN, yeah, because the Blast ones are online, and so though the qualifications that start in 2 days for the Blast is to get to the LAN that we went to watch. Okay. So it's whoever wins there will go to the equivalent of what we watched last year.
Yeah. I'm really happy to see them win, to be honest. Yeah, that was exciting. As you know, I've been working all weekend, so I didn't get a chance to watch any of it, basically. But I was obviously keeping up to date with the results, and yeah, I'm buzzing for them.
Well, so interestingly as well, Navi did really well to get to the final. Granted, I didn't think they were going to get that far, and when you look back at our predictions, we were Vitality and Ents through and through, really, weren't we?
Oh yeah. Can I just say before we continue that if you didn't see our or my fantasy team, don't worry about it.
No,
it was shocking.
I think I finished above you.
Oh, mate, I just gave up. I think because I did double Astralis, didn't I, and double Vitality, and they both just got knocked out. So,
I had Jim Fat in my team, so
nice.
So I tell you what though, Navi, right? They did well. I will give them props because I don't ever give them props because they, with the roster that's changed that much, to be in the final at Pro League, fair play. Like they are actually going to be a team that probably is going to be dangerous in CS2, and I don't think this is like that was just a lucky run or whatever. I think they're probably going to be pretty bloody good, and CS2 is going to work in their favour. They were doing some mad stuff, right? And I tell you what, I made notes because when I was watching, I was like, what the fuck are they doing?
Navi did.
Navi. So MOUZ went 2-0 up, yeah? And then on Mirage, Simple was in Kitchen on B site, right? Listen to this. It was 2v2. MOUZ threw a molly into Kitchen. Simple didn't have to run through it. He was safe. He was at the near connector side of Kitchen. Just decided to try jump through it to get to the side. So because he was like, they probably won't think I'm going to push this molly. Just died. Almost just like committed suicide. Just ran into the molly. He didn't have to. It was mental. So proper feeling the pressure. Then MOUZ were attacking T side Mirage again at mid, at the top of the boxes on mid. Simple jumped down from either window or short, and Immer was walking up mid trying to push them. Simple jumped down behind him, made loads of noise. Immer shit himself, turned around, team attacked him.
What?
And so MOUZ just picked the boxes and killed them both. It was like, what are you guys doing? It was
yeah, it's the comms, isn't it? I do feel like they're going to struggle with the comms for probably a while longer.
But I think that is comms maybe, but you know he's walking up mid trying to be quiet, and why just jumping down behind him?
Yeah, I don't think it is comms though. I do think you got to communicate, and if you're going to push with someone, or if Simple's planning on pushing mid with him, then they should be talking to each other.
Maybe. And Simple was doing his buying a shotgun, which was funny or worked a bit, and it wasn't working. He was just dying.
Do you think? I know you've got a negative bias against Simple, but I feel with Simple, he's gotten a little bit since he kind of got crowned the GOAT of CS:GO, which was kind of when CS2 got announced, a lot of people were saying this. And to be fair, he's unreal. Like, you can't really argue with it. I'm guessing you would. And we're going to do our top 5 in another video. But I feel like since then he's got a little bit carried away with himself. Maybe he puts too much pressure on himself. He's always been an aggressive player, but I feel like now he feels like he has to go through every molly. He's got to push it. He's got to be super aggressive.
There was no reason to push this molly. It was bizarre. He had the AWP. He had JL or someone with him. It was 2v2. Like, it was the third map, the decider map, but it was just fucking mental. It was almost like he just bombed down. Only just planted it though. Planted molly through window at kitchen, and he just like looked at the molly and went, "Yeah," just jumped in it. Like, what the fuck are you doing? They did do well to get that far, and all that. It was just MOUZ played some of the most exciting Counter-Strike I've seen in a while. I watched the G2 game. I was like, this is generally making me want to just play now and like learn a lot more about Counter-Strike. Maybe also, I always say I'm not sentimental. Maybe I was a bit sentimental because it made me want to play CSGO. I was like, oh my god, I really want to get on and play. Jim Fat was not crowned MVP. Torsey was, but I think Jim Fat should have been, man. Jim Fat's 17, come from the academy roster. The guy he plays like he's 25, 26-year-old Dupree after 4
They're all
majors.
young. Like, aren't they the youngest team? Like, they've got to be the youngest team in Pro League. They're the youngest team in most tournaments they do anyway.
Probably. But Jim Fat would turn 17 at Pro League. But the guy is like, he didn't do anything stupid. He checked every corner.
What's going on with them? What are they feeding these kids, mate? You've got Donk, who's 16, and then you've got these boys tearing it up. What's going on?
Mate, they just grew up with a mouse in their hand, don't they? That's the problem.
Mouse.
They didn't have that. Dad joke number 2. We actually need a stat tracker. I didn't know that was a thing, but clearly is. Yeah, like when our dad used to be like, get outside and play football. Nah, just get on the computer, mate. Shoot some heads. None of that.
Yeah.
Don't go and touch any grass.
So, how do you feel with this team going forward now? Because I'm super excited. With them being so young and CS2 coming out, these guys have got time.
Super excited. Like, honestly, they've got to be, them and Ents, the most exciting teams at the moment to watch.
Ents, how do you feel about Vitality? Because we both, I think we both said they were going to make the final.
It was a safe pick. I don't think it's like we were being outrageous, right? But they lost to Monty, didn't they, in the quarters? So yeah, I don't know. They didn't. I mean, the first map was Anubis. They lost 16-11. The second one 16-14. So second one was close. They could have maybe taken it to a third map, but they just weren't at the races, right? I don't think there's anything to be too concerned about Vitality, right? I wonder if the likes of Zone, Spinks and Flames, they're a bit younger. Howard Spinks, 23, yeah. They might have their eye on CS2, although it's no excuse because MOUZ, like you said, the young.
I did think when they brought that kind of graph out, they asked all the teams who's practicing CS2. It was only about 4 teams playing it, and they were one of them.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's affected it. It could be just a share excuse anyway. But so, how do you feel about the current rankings? Now,
yes, so
shot up so much.
So okay, interesting. Let's talk about that. So after the back of this, so these would these be the final rankings for CS:GO technically, or would these? I would maybe class that as what this is then.
They've got to be. They've not played a game on CS2, so yeah, it's got to be.
Okay. So they've just
released Player of the Week.
Yeah, it would be, but Torsey got actual MVP, I think, of the tournament.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
but so yeah, let's discuss these rankings. So Vitality hold number 1, Ents second, which is deserved. G2 third, Heroic are 4th still, which is like, what have they got to do to drop out of this top fucking 10? Get them out the top 10. They've got to basically shit in HLTV's office, I think, to fall out of the top 10. So Heroic 4th for some reason, MOUZ 5th, Navi 6th, FaZe 7th, Astralis 8th, 9th, Monty 10th, Cloud 9. Say I would probably be putting MOUZ as 4th, Navi 5th, then Heroic 6th. Other than that, that's fine. What do you think?
Yeah, I probably agree with you, to be honest. I don't think Heroic deserve it anymore. I think they were consistent for a while, but they've not really performed at the last, 3 events?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe longer.
Just sack it off, mate. They need to come out there. Back, sorry, a quick technical fault there, my end. So getting back on track, we spoke about Pro League and the rankings. So since our last podcast, CS2 has been fully released, and that meant that everyone's allowed it. It's free to play. Counter-Strike 2 is out, people. Go and get the new version of the best FPS game of all time. Do you know what, interestingly, again, while there's been so much reflection on Counter-Strike Go, who calls it Counter-Strike Go? CSGO, and we've been talking about being sentimental, blah, blah, blah. I started thinking about CS in a sentimental way. And what I realised is, you know me, I enjoy trying lots of games. I'm someone that will, if you say to me, there's this new, whatever it is, role-playing game, fucking, I don't know, whatever game you want to play, I'll be up for giving it a go, right? And the one thing that happens with that is I end up using a lot of hard drive space and have to delete things, and like,
You're very organised with your computer anyway. Like, if you're not playing a game, it's gone. Yeah,
it's gone. Yeah, or it's updated, it's ready to be played. Like, I don't know how many times WoW has been installed and uninstalled. If I've not got a WoW subscription, it's just uninstalled on everything. My computer, my laptop, everything, which it is at the moment. The only game that never ever gets uninstalled on all my machines, on my laptop, my work computer, this computer, is Counter-Strike. It's always been there. It's never ever off. It's never off. I might not be playing it obviously, but it's never uninstalled. That will never be uninstalled to make way for something else, because it's too important and it never will happen. So that is where I think my appreciation for CSGO is, and I'm going to put that to bed. Would you like to say any more words before we scatter them flowers onto the
It's like you kind of said,
grave?
We're not, neither of us are very sentimental. It is sad that we can't go back and play CSGO when it's just gone. Like, they've literally killed it. But no, I'm not sentimental at all. It's not the first Counter-Strike I started playing, so maybe it's not too close to my heart, but it is a bit shit that we can't play anymore. But CS2 is so close to it that, yeah, I'm the same as you. It is one of those games that I played since I was a kid. I'm not like you. I do try other games, but no game has ever gripped me like Counter-Strike. Nothing compares to it for me. There's that competitive edge and just everything about it. I mean, there's so much you could go into, but no game compares to it really for me. Like, I'm not a massive gamer.
No. Should we just, other than like Valheim or something weird that you just seem to be into?
Yeah.
Should we just say a minute? Should we just do a minute of silence then?
I think we did that when your computer crashed.
Okay. So moving on, CS:GO is dead.
Dead, gone, buried.
And CS2's come. Okay. So they did make what felt like some quite drastic changes, which I can't remember exactly ins and outs. It's been like 2 updates since our last podcast and since it was released. It definitely is starting to feel better. I cannot, for the life of me, settle on a setup I feel happy with. I've changed nearly every other game, my settings dramatically. I've changed my resolution. I'm back to 4:3. The other night we played, it was 16:9. I cannot decide what I like and what actually feels best. I feel like the changes that have been made recently are better, but I'm also feeling things a lot more. Like, I'm feeling what everyone was moaning about a lot more before, than the actual game was released. So I'm in a bit of a weird place. I don't feel I'm playing very well at the moment now it's been released, whereas on beta I felt I was playing really well, so it's thrown me off a bit. What are your initial thoughts of full release? I must say, by the way, that the rollout of full release as well, when you get a new like WoW expansion or you get like a new Lost Ark, do you remember Lost Ark when that came out? You had to like wait for like fucking hours to get on a server. CS2 there was definitely some queues on the first night of, or the evening the next day after when we played. But I saw they put a tweet out like, we're putting up more servers, and like, so fair play to them. They rolled it out. It's not their first rodeo, obviously. It's Valve. They know what they're doing. But other big game makers like Blizzard and stuff, they really fuck up releases now. So it's nice just to have it. It's like, it was no big deal. Like, here you go.
Yeah, I didn't notice any issues. I wasn't playing the first night. I mean, but since we're talking about their rollout, I was disappointed in the way they released it. Just because they took so long, it was so drawn out. It was kind of a little bit like, right, okay, the hype kind of worn out a little bit for me. When it was like they slowly released it, and it was just slow and slow and slow. They didn't give us a date. They said it was going to be Wednesday, and then like it wasn't Wednesday. I mean, what time was it? Like 9:30 at night here?
I think it was 8 or 9 p.m. But that is also because they're based in like America, or they're in like Seattle.
No, I don't give a fuck. Most players are probably in Europe, right? You've got to cater to the masses, haven't you? So yeah, wasn't too happy with that. But the game overall, pretty happy with. I'll be honest, I do feel really up and down with it. It's, for me, I said this with Valorant. I feel like it's really hit and miss. You can play your game and you play awesome. You could play another game and you'd be dreadful, or you could have a whole evening of playing really well, and then another evening of playing really bad. And there's just something off about them, and I think I'm not the most technical guy in the world. I have no idea about all the tick situation and the servers and whatnot, and all the the net code behind it all. But there does something seem to be off, and I've noticed a few people say with the shooting doesn't seem to go where you shoot sometimes. Like sometimes I'm doing a flicking AWP shot and I'll hit. Sometimes it doesn't seem to hit these flicks. Like there's been so many shots where I thought I'd killed the guy, and then I'm dead. And I've noticed people do it with me as well. Like I could be spraying someone, then you turn around to shoot the next person or whatever, and they're not dead. And people have done that to me as well, like shooting me and then looked away, thinking I must be dead now. So I do think there's something there with maybe it's just us getting used to the new game, I don't know, but I do feel like it needs tweaking, but I'm confident they'll get there.
Yeah.
But what I was going to ask you is, why are you changing your settings? Is that because it doesn't feel right, or are you just playing around because it's a new game?
It's a bit of both. I always tweaked around with CSGO anyway. I definitely feel like it doesn't quite feel. To me, it feels a bit more off than the beta. Is what I'm saying. Well, I'm not playing as well, so it might just be me playing shit. But I also feel like some of my shots or my aims or my spray, it does feel off. I agree with you. I didn't agree with anyone before, but maybe I was just playing well. And so I'm trying to recapture that form I had in beta where I felt very confident and consistent.
I don't know if this is a thing, but like we've mentioned Valorant before, but I always used to think that maybe it's like depends on the server you're on, and how aligned the tick rate is with you. I was watching a video today, and I'll be honest, I'm not going to try and to use it
the terminology
in this conversation, because the guy admitted himself he didn't really know what he was talking about, but he was having a few guesses at why he
start a video.
Yeah, he was having guesses, but he sounded like what he was saying sounded believable. It sounded quite plausible. He was talking about when you're moving your mouse across the screen to shoot a target, when you click and where it's moving can be two different locations, and the way the tick rate is working now, and he was talking about the mouse tick rate being different to the character tick rate and stuff.
Yeah,
it was all a bit too complicated and way over my head, but I hope whatever it is, if it is an issue and not just me being shit. Hopefully they get it fixed, but it might just be players being shit and coming up with an excuse, because maybe these things happen on CSGO, but because it was just a game, you wouldn't acknowledge it. You wouldn't, recognize it as being anything. But because it is a new game, we're kind of picking holes out of it. But it definitely feels different because certain shots I'm doing the same kind of movement, and my mouse sensitivity hasn't really changed. But I feel like that should have hit the guy, and it's not.
Yeah, I'm also noticing massive lag spikes for me. And
I've not noticed that, but yeah, you've mentioned.
I was playing with our friend just before this podcast, and he was watching me, and I was like, "Oh, did you see that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did." And I will just completely teleport out of this if I'm like jiggle peeking out of the spot, and people do it to me. But I am always conscious of my internet. I mean, my internet dropped during this recording, so it could be me. But I never in CS:GO it was never a problem ever. So I don't know. There's still things that need to be tweaked and changed, but it's definitely not far off. Let's be real.
No, I agree. Overall, I'm fairly happy with it. What do you think about it going to the pro scene? Because I've seen a lot of pro players saying it's not ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think unfortunately I'm of the nature where if it's out now on release, like we kind of just want to see pros play it now. I think you just got to deal with it how it is. They'll continue to fix it as much as possible, and actually also getting it into that pro environment will probably give, if the pros give loads of feedback to Valve and Valve implement it after the tournament. Unfortunately the first tournament, I think the first proper ones, i.e. EM Sydney, is the first proper LAN. I don't know about online. Will just be a bit of a tester or a bit of a test run, so it might not. Well, it might. I think just use it. I think even if it's not ready, just get it out there. I think it's weird that the Blast qualifications for full whatever they're doing now is going to be CS:GO. I understand why pros are going to be pissed off with that and they're going to find it weird. But I think just get out there. I think
they do need a bit of time to kind of start playing it though. They need more time to play, get used to it. I think it was Robs was saying we just need to, the only way to fix the game and improve the game is to start playing it. And I agree. I agree with you. Like, they need to start doing tournaments, see how it goes, and if there are tweaks, they can make tweaks.
It's an online game, isn't it?
Valve are very aware that the game is not just the pro scene. That's a massive part of it, but it's not just the pro scene. It is mainly people playing it and people enjoying it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I did, while we're on the topic of just talking about the game in general, how do you feel about the MR12 now we've played a few more games of it? Because I do feel like the other day we were playing and I mentioned it, and I don't know if you were swaying off your original opinion or not.
I don't mind it. I think as a casual, I prefer more games and quick games. I wouldn't have been able to just play the game I just played before we started this podcast. It was a half an hour, 32-minute game or something. I'm all for that. I didn't need.
So you feel the same?
I think I do at the moment. Yeah, I think the problem with your take on it as well is you were in a bad mood the other day. So when we played, you were just like from the off. It was like round 3. We just lost pistols twice, and you were like, right, that's it. We can't even buy now. That's our one buy round done. We're like, okay. And then we had some guy on our team that was just basically his name was Toxic Bob or something, and then he was just like being really toxic and calling out anyone if they didn't make a 4 kill or something, calling us stupid.
Should Valve take a special look at people with toxic in the name?
Well, then one of our friends would be banned.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's his Valorant name.
Yeah, and he is pretty toxic. I don't know what he's been like in CS, but on Valorant he was.
No, I don't think they should, but I think the MR12 I'm alright with. I'll be intrigued to see how it goes, and again in pro play.
It is difficult because I know which game you're talking about, but there was one before that where I felt like we were getting into the swing of things kind of halfway through the first half. We started to get back into it. We were kind of figuring them out, and I felt like we did that in the second half of the second half, so the last quarter of the game. We were kind of figuring the team out. we were realizing what they were doing, and we were figuring out a way to counter them, but it was kind of too little, too late, and that's why I feel like I get where you're coming from because I do enjoy the quicker games, but it is hard to make adjustments. I think for players like me, where I try and play a little bit against the person, I try and read them and counter them and try and predict what they're going to do, and that helps me if I play with them a little bit longer and kind of figure out what kind of habits they have and what they like to do. Whereas you're kind of a take heads kind of guy. I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think at the moment as well, whilst we're in this stage of the game, and like learning it or getting to grips with it, I think it's less important to worry about the other people. We might as well just be taking it, just to get used to the mechanics of it. But I don't know. I think because I've wanted this kind of slightly more condensed game for a while, the MR12 thing just feels nice. But I think the key is getting games in as well at the moment, like multiple games. I just want to play multiple games, multiple maps. I don't have enough time. You don't have enough time, so the more games, the better, in my opinion. But
yeah, that's true.
So let's move on then to what next is coming up, and maybe round this off because we're at a good time. We just mentioned then that the last showdown, which is to basically qualify for the full LAN at the end of the year, is happening in 2 days, where they just basically qualify, I think, to get into the full. The people, whoever wins it goes to Blast. It's 9 v Big first, Ents versus Alliance. Who are Alliance, man? I don't know Alliance. Cloud9 versus Movistar, and G2 versus OG. I don't know. Between Ents, Cloud9 and G2, isn't it? But probably more likely Ents win that. This is the kind of...
you've got the Americas as well.
Yes, yeah, this is just Europe, of course. I'm ignoring America. Why wouldn't I? Fine, sorry. Do you want to go look at America?
You're not a fan of the Americas, are you?
Let me guess. Oh, that's it, because... Wait, why are Liquid in that then?
Don't pause like that, because I thought you cut out again.
Sorry. Yeah, but I thought Liquid went European. I know that they've benched Rainwaker, haven't they? And they've brought in their coach, Daps, who makes it an American core. Was that for this then? Or would they have had to play in the Europe qualifier?
Well, I imagine this was all organised before they got rid of Rainwaker.
So why are they in the... I thought that they went international then. So they would have been...
Oh yeah, they would have been anyway. Maybe just because it is an American team, like it's known as an American team, maybe, and they were just...
Well, based on current recent performances, Complexity performed really well at Pro League, so I'd be saying Complexity win that. Complexity for the Europe one, American one, and then I'd just say Ents for Europe would be my 2 picks that go through Blast showdown. But again, the problem is it's CS:GO.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to change anything. It's weird. It is weird to do that, I think.
Do you have much to say on Liquid's change up?
Not really. Rainwaker's not been great. I don't know. See what happens.
I thought he had spells.
They're the only team of the kind of mass changed player break teams to change so quickly, right? Everyone else is kind of seeing what happens, but
yeah. I mean, to be fair, I would say get rid of OC and try and get a better AWPer. He's not awful, but as an AWPer, he is. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Well, I don't know who. I'm just saying the easy things to say, hard things to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, go on. So Europe, forget about Americas.
Well, I think Complexity, America and Europe, I think Ents would be my guess there. I think they're the ones to go through.
Yeah, Ents are going to fucking smash Alliance. I don't even know who they are, but they're going to smash them.
Yeah, fuck Alliance. Then we've got the kind of more exciting one, which will be CS2. Let's fucking go. Which will be Sydney, IEM. Some teams haven't gone to Sydney because it's fucking miles away. Why would you go to Sydney?
Should we go?
Should we just mate. When is it? The 16th? No, that's LAN weekend, man. or the weekend, the week after LAN.
Okay, so we could go.
We'd be travelling LAN weekend. Okay. So have we got any early picks for who's gonna? Well, they haven't even chosen the groups yet. We can't decide this yet. We need to wait for the groups to choose. But the interesting thing about IEM Sydney is, well, it's going to be the first LAN on CS2. Also, Bet Boomer there, who's Nafani's new team with Zorti, the all Russian team. So I'm excited to see what they're like. But yeah, that'll be exciting. I'm going to try and watch a lot of that as well. FaZe are there and MOUZ are there, so we'll be rooting for them.
I mean, I think it's a matter of time before you drop FaZe, because
no, I can't do it, mate.
I mean, apart from with football, you kind of try and support someone who's winning.
I will always support FaZe because of Carrigan.
What? So if Carrigan leaves, is that you're done?
Yeah, if Carrigan goes to like Apex or something, I'll support Apex. Yeah, gotta go where Carrigan goes, mate. It's sanity. Right, so it's the best in-game leader of all time.
So are you gonna have a team?
Yeah, am I gonna have a team?
Yeah, or are you just gonna have a player?
Nah, it's just Carrigan.
Okay, fair enough.
By next podcast, I will choose a team and I'll support them through thick and thin.
What about MOUZ?
It can be MOUZ then. Yeah, I'd love to support MOUZ. But that's just because they just won.
It's your decision, mate. Don't mind.
I'll think about it. Your shit team's playing anyway, Fnatic. That'd be good. You can watch them lose. Right.
They let me down. They should have done better.
Yes. Well, there you go. Welcome to supporting a shit team like I do in football. Let's wrap it up there. Let's piece together this mess of a podcast, and we'll be back next week for episode 22. Have a good time. GG's. See you later.
GG's. Adios.